My name is Hector Galvez.
Okay, cool. And so, do you consider yourself a Chicano punk?
Yeah, definitely. I, started out listening to punk bands ever since high school, and maybe before that, I can remember listening to a few punk bands, and yeah, just since then, the lifestyle kind of takes over you.
So, what makes you a Chicano punk? What does that mean to be a Chicano punk?
To be a Chicano punk definitely has to be, you're just different than a normal punk. If you go down the street, you see punks with mohawks. And we actually do carry mohawks many times, but I mean, I used to have spikes and a mohawk, but basically you're more conscious, you have more political songs about Chicanos and our struggles, so yeah.
So what is a Chicano punk lifestyle?
Lifestyle, well, we live different lifestyles. If you see a Chicano punk, I don't know, down the street, they might have a different lifestyle than me. But in general, we stick to a few things, which is, music, which can not only has to be necessarily punk, but can be other styles of music. Such as, like indie rock or alternative rock, anything from there. And, yeah.
Okay. You mentioned politics. What are your politics in Chicano punks? What's important to you? What do you fight for?
definitely has to be important the fact that you know, like for example, me, I'm a Chicano in higher education and definitely a punk. So I definitely, you know, fight for like, you know, just immigration rights, you know, politics, and definitely was involved in a lot of the Easy Island movement and just getting all that stuff out. And you're just more conscious of trying to help your people through music and trying to communicate ideas or, you know, stuff that might be wrong.
Are you part of any political organizations on campus right now? Organizations in general?
I'm not involved with Mecha anymore. I haven't been active actually, but in general, we try to stick to you know, our own needs, because sometimes like political organizations can sort of like outlaw us a little bit because we're punks, we listen to rock and roll, you know, and it's like we're a little different, so sometimes we don't necessarily clash with those people.
As a Chicano punk, what are you rebelling against?
I'm not rebelling against mainstream.
I asked that because white punks or punks that you would think of in general, they seem to fight against corporate America or against societal norms. Is there any similarities with you and Chicano punks?
We definitely rebel against the same thing. We're basically rebelling against mainstream America, mainstream everything. Everything for us is like punk. Oh, that's punk rock. And for us, Chicanos in particular, we just have different issues. For example, a lot of bands and a lot of punks have emphasized or had taken the movement of the Zapatistas as part of us.
Okay. And could you explain that a little bit for those?
So the Zapatista movement, it was an uprising started in 1994 in the south of Mexico, where the peasants living there decided to rebel against, you know, the forces that were oppressing them, basically the government of Chiapas. This is in Chiapas, Mexico, and so this is happening in our times, and we definitely see this affecting us, and we want to become definitely involved in it. That immigration, you know, border immigration, you know, injustices here, racism, we definitely rebel against all, and as well as corporate America. So in general, we are the same, but we just have little different slight issues with it.
As a Chicano punk, I know, and you're in a band, you have two bands, Dead Last and The Backups.
Mm-hmm.
You often share the venue with other quote-unquote regular punk bands. Are there any obstacles or discrimination you face as Chicanos or Mexicans?
Yeah, we haven't faced that actually. Most of the bands that we have played with, or that we share stages with, are really welcoming of us. Believe it or not, where we have faced more discrimination has been with like Spanish rock kind of influenced bands, where they kind of like, oh, you guys are too hard for us, or you guys are too crazy. And I've actually had that. We played in an art gallery and we were trying to, you know, just support. And then I remember that the director of the art gallery said, no, they're too hard for this, and they're too hard for like Chicanismo.
Was this at Galeria?
Yeah, Galeria Posada. And I remember she walked out of our set, and that was pretty pretty harsh, yeah. And we're really, but beyond that, in Davis, Sacramento, we're really the white crowd, or the white punks are really welcoming of us, and they really support us.
You mentioned earlier that Spanish rock influenced bands are the ones that you face more obstacles with. What do you think is the difference between Chicano punk and rock en español?
I mean, rock en español it's really welcoming of anything. You're taking no risk. You're not taking a risk doing rock en español. You're gonna be accepted anyways. And with Chicano punk, you're taking a risk. You basically are taking a risk of not being liked, of being just, it's like, what are these guys doing? They're too hard, they're too political, and there's no risk in Spanish rock. Not that I don't like Spanish rock, I really enjoy it, but it's kind of sucks that you got this dividing line of like punk rock and like Spanish rock, where I think it should be together. It should just be, just together, and we don't.
Are there any leaders of the Chicano punk movement, any individuals that stand out, or is it no, not just yet?
Definitely there's a main leader, like right now. I wouldn't say leader, but just like an influence that I've had that's been my main influence. It's the Martin Soronde guy from Los Crudos. This is a band that they broke up now, but they're from Chicago, and this band sang all in Spanish. They had one English song, which was "That's Right, Motherfuckers," where that's big band. Excuse my language, but that's the title of the song. And other than that, all their songs are in Spanish. And Martin Soronega actually has a documentary on punk rock, Chicano punk rocks, and because there's a lot of punk rock films, but they sort of include Chicanos. They kind of bring us up a little bit, like bands like early '80s band Los Zeros, the Los Illegals, all those Sonic Youth and all those other bands, and they kind of they do mention us, but Martin Soronega really brought it up, and it's called Beyond the Screams, and that's a great documentary.
You mentioned some bands before. What are some bands that epitomize Chicano punks?
Definitely have to be from East LA, Unión 13, as well as Los Crudos. It's gonna be Schism, Teenage Rage. These are LA bands, and there's just there's a lot of other bands like in LA. I mean, you can pretty much fall in a puddle of bands that are Chicanos, and not all of them play punk, but they all have punk influence. And they're all like, some of them are ska bands, like this band from Mexico, Los Kung Fu Monkeys. And they're great, just a bunch of bands that you can basically are led by Chicanos. And they're out there.
Okay, you mentioned before that all the bands you mentioned basically are from the LA area. Why do you think there is a lack of Chicano punks up here in Northern California? As you mentioned before, like I had trouble finding Chicano punk bands, and the only reason I found you is because I'd known you previous to this.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any reason?
I think there is. Obviously, I've been to San Francisco. There are a lot of Chicano punks, but they mix in with the white crowd a lot. So it's really hard to point them out. Here in Davis, I don't know. It's really hard to find any Mexicans that listen to rock, period. So Sacramento, there are a few, but they're kind of they're really hard to find. Like I remember going to the Casualty show. That's a band from New York that actually the singer's is Latin American as well, and has a few songs in Spanish. And I remember seeing a lot of Latinos or Chicano punks there, but they mixed in really well, and it's hard to point them out. And in LA, it's basically everybody's it's like a mecca of music, so you have like a lot of everything. And that's why you basically have a lot of bands.
Going back to the question of the Chicano punks and Chicano ethics, is there any goals as far as Chicano punks have? As I know, for me it seems that punks, like white punks in general, have like the goal of anarchy and no government and freedom of speech and anything. Is there anything like that in the Chicano punk community?
Definitely. We have a goal of, communicating ideas, making people aware of what's going on today. As far as imperialism, especially because it affects us as, Latino Americanos, like harshly. I mean, we got Mexico, we got every country you can think about is being affected by imperialism in Latin America. So we got that, they got a goal to communicate these ideas. As far as anarchism, I mean, it would be great, but I mean, we definitely need to change of ideas. Change of ways that we are governed by. So yeah, there's definitely goals like that.
Thank you. Do you have any parting words for our viewing audience?
Chicano punks are out there. We don't necessarily mix in with the regular crowd of like Chicanos, because we do get excluded, and especially in Davis, it's really hard to be. I consider myself Chicano and Mexicano, so it's really hard to be what I am and mix in with the normal crowd. So we're all out there, and I say good luck to anybody who's in the band.
I think it's pretty cool when we play.
You are okay with being called a Chicano punk?
Not really, because I listen to punk, and I go to a lot of tocadas and support a lot of punk groups. Pero I guess también I do, I guess I could pass. I guess, yeah, because I'm into that, not just punk, but otro type of indie rock también. So I guess I could fit in, you know. So yeah.
Earlier, before this interview, you described yourself as a special punk. Could you go more into that?
A special punk?
That's what you said.
Yeah?
Are you referring to being gay, maybe?
No.
No?
I guess just special as in I grew up in Salinas, California, and between that and South Texas, and I just always listened to music that wasn't, I guess, considered to be Mexican music, to be listened to by Chicanos, you know. They had the whole oldies thing and rap and hip hop thing, and I was into Nirvana, The Cure, the Dead Kennedys, that type of onda. And so you kind of never really fit in. Tampoco, you know, the style of dress that I guess we choose, and, you know, this whole music scene is very different from, you know, the rest of traditional Mexican youth, you know. But también it's funny because you go into Mexico, and then a lot of the friends that I grew up with were hardcore rockeros. So I think it was the Chicanos who, you know, had a problem with anything that wasn't Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Commodores, and Ice Cube. So yeah, I guess I'm special in that way, you know. I listened from anything. I could listen to. Well, the thing I grew up playing a lot of traditional Mexican music también. Pero I would go home from playing stuff that Lola Bertran could sing to, coming home and listening to Sleater Kinney or the Pixies, or, you know, just stuff that I guess really doesn't coincide with one another as far as taste. Pero I mean, I've just always been like that. My other uncles are Rastafaris, are really into Ja and reggae, todo eso. And so I guess I picked up a lot from them, and then my sister también. I guess that's why I'm so stuck on 80s also, the whole retro thing, because, you know, she was 10 years older than me. You know, I was 5, she was 15, listening to Duran Duran and Soft Cell and Susie and the Banshees, so that definitely left a mark. So yeah, I guess special in that way. And then, I mean, there's a whole conciencia that comes around with being, you know, I guess punk, you know, different, you know, you like they say, you know, there's the extreme. There are those who are hardcore, you know, and, you know, don't speak Spanish, don't, you know, be corporate, don't do any of that. Pero I guess I see myself more in support of, like, you know, the Mexican scene and everything, but not keeping it so much to that either. I think my focus is more about decolonization, which I think it's not out of a coincidence when you do go to Mexico, even punk shows here, where you see a lot of indigenous iconography, you know, in the rock, you know, onda, porque post-colonialism, I guess, Catholicism, that kind of thing, you know, that really worked against, you know, that's really conforming in a sense. Well, you're looking back and reconnecting with el pasado mexicano, lo indígena, if you will, if you want to say it that way. You know, their practices, different types of conciencias that really help in liberating, you know, these next generations and helping them, you know, sift away from all these things that, you know, oppressed women, oppressed, you know, jotos, oppressed everybody, you know, as we know it, Catholicism y todo. So I think kind of by default, naturally, Chicanos would fall in, you know, to the punk scene. Because for the most part, we don't really fit into the American mainstream, you know. So I think sometimes when punk is defined as white, I'm kind of like, I don't think so, because a lot of the punk scene, there are a lot of Chicanos and blacks and Native American, different people, and I guess because we don't fit into the mainstream one, kind of by default, you know, we kind of go into that also. But there is definitely a Chicano punk scene, you know, that's different from, I guess, the more identifiable punk scene, the more mainstream, I guess. But yeah.
Go ahead and define that one.
Define Chicano?
No, the
Chicano.
Chicano punk scene.
Well, I mean, it's for me to you know, to define Chicano and then punk and stuff. I think it could go in that order. Well, I mean, for me, a Chicano is, you know, very influenced by, you know, the other scholars, Native scholars and Chicano scholars. It's whatever we imagine ourselves to be. So if Chicano punk is ska, pues órale. If Chicano punk, you know, has a little salsa up in it, pues también. If Chicano punk means not even going into that type of music that comes out of Latino America, then that's cool también. It's whatever we define for ourselves. It's not so much, I think, for us to compare ourselves to other, you know, forms of culture. I think it's whatever we make it. Like my friends, Velvet Fury. I mean, that's their onda, and is it not Chicana? Is it? I mean, it is, because that's what they define themselves, and it's, naturally Chicanos are gente. We're very creative anyway, just in our culture. So, I think whatever it is that we take on, I think just that conciencia that we know. We are Chicanos, that we do have a particular set of issues that we work with, whether we choose to define them or not. It comes out somehow in our music anyway, and so it's whatever we imagine ourselves to be. And I guess the punk scene, I mean, as far as being a Chicano punk scene, what that would be, I mean, when I think of Chicano punk scene, the group I think is Tijuana No, very punk and very stuck, not very stuck. I mean, they're the focus on particular issues, whether it be La Migra or Los Zapatistas, and that's cool. And there's other punk groups who, choose not to, and for their own onda. But, that's still Chicano if that's what they define themselves as. If they're defining themselves as Chicano, then it is, because that's kind of the authority people do have in exercising whatever it is they want to convey. So yeah, and I'm really into supporting local bands, especially friends who are trying to start out. Me and my friends always talk shit about starting a band, but I'm the only one who plays anything. So yeah, that was. How do you define punk? How are they different, similar? Well, how Chicano and punk are different and similar. I think when I think Chicano, I think of not conforming. Again, that discussion, and so. Very naturally, it kind of makes sense that Chicanos would be part of punk, to rebel against whether it be colonialism, gender roles, politics, certain politics that we have, certain issues that we carry. I think that's how they're similar, because the punk is that avenue, for, I don't even like to say rebellion, because that comes with the rhetoric that, punk is just anarchy and da-da-da-da. I mean, even anarchism itself has an agenda, has a really, it's sophisticated agenda, I would say, to credit that. So yeah, I think it's natural for Chicanos to get into the punk. I mean, because it's, I think we're naturally subversive, but a lot of things, crossing borders, defining ourselves, and, really taking authority in how we determine what it is we want to be. So, and I see that a lot in punk, kind of just not conforming to anything. I mean, there's different levels of it, but I mean, I don't think they're different from one another. Old school Chicanos might say, well, what the hell are you listening to? If you're not listening to Santana, then what's wrong with you? Pero that's the old generation, and what we need is a new voice. We need a new plan. The rhetoric of the past, even though we can learn a lot from it, is not going to work for us anymore. There's new issues that we've been able to bring up to light, like the issues of women, the issues of, queer Chicanos, the whole new issues coming up with globalization and other things that, that's the past generation stuff. We have to create our own plan and create a new art, create a new form of expression. And really, hopefully, not to regurgitate anything from the past, because people get stuck on that. Even like Chicano art now, for a while, it's kind of had a pattern. You use red and an eagle, and it's Chicano. What's that about? And I really get into it when I find new bands that, aren't so confined to trying to sound like Los Jaguares or something like that. That they're just doing their own thing. And so more power to them. Because everything, culture changes. Nothing is, stands still. Nothing's stagnant, Let's see, what's another question? Am I rebelling against anything?
You kind of already covered that.
Yeah, I was kind of born rebelling everything by nature. Am I fighting for, I guess, anything? Fighting for, I mean, yeah, definitely decolonizing the mind. I think that's one point that music, the messages that they convey are very powerful, and rethinking your position, rethinking, the positions of humanity and stuff like that, and justicia and all that different type of consciousness. My thing is just really reevaluating how it is we treat other people on a very fundamental level. It sounds very fundamental, but that goes into other issues, But yeah, I guess that's what I'm for, for humanity, todo eso. I don't know. Are there any other questions? I don't think so. How does it feel? How does it feel for role of gender and sexuality? I think there's always been a spot for jotada in the punk scene, just naturally, you know. It might not be put out, you know, all rainbow flag y todo, you know, pero I mean it's there, you know, it's always been there. It's always been kind of the home, you know, for the alternative or, you know, the different. I even hate to say different because it's, you know,
It separates.
it others, you know, us even more than we should be. Yeah, so I mean the obstacles, is, especially being Chicano, is that you're dealing with two sets of issues that don't always coincide with one another. You got the immigrant issue, and you know being gay and Chicano. That sometimes you can't really work unless you're a gay immigrant. Then specifically, those two work together. But interesting you asked that because this morning I was just like, oh God. Where I was listening to Kewana in the morning, they were talking. This one vato called in, and he was like, "I don't know why they're talking," because they had brought up the issue of gay marriage, and like, "I don't know why you're bringing up this issue. We should just focus on the issues of immigrants. These jotos want to do all this in front of our morrillos and show their puerquerías y todo eso," and I was like, God damn. I'm like, it's no wonder why a lot of jotada leave the community, and leave, listening to Mexican music, and leave, even identifying, because there isn't a space. Some people might say, no, Chicanos are conscious right now. No, there is not a space yet. It's in creation. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a base starting, but for the rest of the community at large, it's there's very few who carry that way of thinking. And so, and I guess regards to punk, that just provides that space. It's one of the places that does provide that space for us to, discuss these topics, to be loud and be riled and say, fuck you, fuck Christian marriage. Be able to say that, a way to, vent. Definitely, music is a part of venting. Like Las Ultrasonicas, they really go against the gender roles that are set from Mexico. There's this punk band from El DF, and they sing shit like Vente en mi boca. Women aren't supposed to say that, but they do, and they put it out there, and it's fun, and it's riled up. And I mean, I haven't heard of a particular gay Chicano punk group, but it's definitely, a door that's open for expression other than poetry and, this other type of patterns of Chicano art, And it's good that you brought up this documentary, even though it's a shorter project, but it needs to be seen as another alternative to Chicano art, because Chicano art has just been looked at, and expression just been looked at one way, whether it be painting or murals or poetry. Music is punk music is another art that's kind of been left out, and it's been existing, especially in like the LA area, for a while. So yeah. Let's see, what is the role of gender art? Who inspires me? En general, or inspires me as far as music? As music,
You're a musician.
yeah, I am a musician. Who inspires me? My teacher, my first teacher. He was from Michoacan. He's a little man, but he could rock out on the guitar. And even though he didn't teach me rock, he taught me how to do requinto on the la guitarra and everything. Even though I did lose a lot of that skill when I stopped playing for a while. That inspires me because that was my first teacher. And just the humility that he brought across, to always be humble and listen to what you play. And as far as rock, I mean, there's just favorite groups that I have. Las Ultrasonicas being one of the ones. I love Sleater Kinney. That's another cool group. At the drive-in, even though they broke up. I've always loved the Ramones, even though they're really poppy, I guess. But being small and being into the Ramones and the Dead Kennedys, definitely. But yeah, and it's funny because, I could say Lola Bertan también, because that woman was down. And norteño music, that's a big part of my life because my family's were Tejano. And so that has a big impact definitely on how I choose to, listen, or my choice of music. I actually got the chords down for Ramon Ayala's song called Puño de Tierra, and I did a version of it, all rocked out and everything. And me and my pseudo band that we we're hoping to put together, but it's not going to happen since I'll be leaving to pursue my PhD. That's actually one of the covers that we wanted to do, a Ramon Ayala song. But yeah, definitely that background in Mexican music, and just, you know, other music that I picked up that I guess was different. Those groups I had mentioned earlier. That and friends who are in the scene, who have a band and everything, whom they inspire. I guess, you know, they keep me in the onda, you know, and they keep me really happy. I'm really happy to see them progress as musicians, as singers and stuff. And I'm very loyal to friends who are in bands and everything. I'm their number one fans. Like, even people that don't really know that, you know, I go to Tocada specifically to support them and get all riled and, you know, throw condoms and weenies at them and calzones cagados. But yeah, I'm just in support of them because they're really taking, you know, a step and, you know, saying, hey, you know, this is Chicano también. This is something I found a space, and this is how I define myself. And it's not so orthodox, you know. It doesn't have to be banda. It doesn't have to be, you know, some J-Lo, Sun by Force, Sin Banderas type of crap, you know, that I don't. I mean, if you like it, that's cool, but I don't, personally. It says nothing to me. So yeah, that inspires me, I guess, as far as my interest in music. And I could just go on about bands. I love the Smiths, también, but, you know, what Chicano in this scene doesn't. I don't know if you have any more questions.
Do you have any parting words, any words of inspiration?
Parting words.
For our viewing audience that has been Chicano punk?
If you pick up an instrument and you play one chord and it makes you feel good, rock out and learn more. Especially if you're a female. Especially if you're a female, because it's very dominated by cock rock and guys and da 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 da. So if you're female and queer, you rock out, and rock out with, you know, as many different groups that you can. Don't just settle for, you know, the Chicano punk scene. Don't just settle for a whole anarchist type of scene either. Put your name out there and, you know, really study music, even though some people it's kind of difficult, but study music. And make something that's definitely your own. Don't try to sound like someone else, because, you know, that's, you know, it's been done before, and we need a new tone, new chords, new vocal, new everything, because, you know, in order for it to keep on moving, in order for this onda to keep on growing, we need to, you know, have, you know, people who've gone out of that mold. You know, that's why, you know, this onda exists today, because people chose to break the mold and just continue breaking that mold and defining what it is to be Chicano and punk. You know, it's whatever we imagine ourselves to be. So the sky's really the limit. And support your local bands.
I'm going to start from left to right. You can each introduce yourselves.
My name is Tuca. I am haggard and I love it.
I'm La Tigresa and I'm happy to be here.
I'm Dahlia Deathstrike and I play drums.
Okay, and you guys are in Velvet Fury, correct? Okay, can you tell me a little bit about your band?
Our band has attitude with a punk flair and
Punk.
punk. And we like to rock hard and traumatize people, especially guys. And we like asses.
I wear a strap-on.
She wears a chin top. I'm a man. No, we've been around since 2001. We've been playing it's gonna be our third year this year. We've been playing up and down. Southern California we played in December, but we've just been playing around, and it's just all girls. We enjoy what we do. We haven't given up our daytime jobs. We finished our school. We're playing music. Just work, and all we do is just play music. So we're just having fun.
So is that, would you describe that as your lifestyle right now then?
Pretty much. Because that's the only way we could pay for our equipment. You know, because you know, travel, you know, do everything. We haven't given up our day. We have jobs where we could actually, like, take off a day or 2 days or a few, you know, take the time off to go travel to play, and that's it. But we haven't given up our day jobs, or else we'd be living off top ramen, tapatio, and limon.
Was it corny?
We wish we could play music full time, but
Yeah, we do.
So would you guys define yourselves as Chicano punks?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
And what are your ethics then as Chicano punks? Like I asked that because there's a as far as mainstream punks, there's a punk ethics,
Like there's all those like leftists, like todo eso, like todos esos leftists que están allá in like the Bay Area.
Anything of that for you guys, like to define like what Chicano punk ethics are?
Well, I think there is a lot of Chicana punk ethics, but there's several of them where you have your extreme left. We've seen that with some of those bands in the Bay. You have your extreme left, los que like are anti, corporate, anti everything, and they do, of course, do it your own self, and they do the protests, they do all of that. But then you have the ones that are like, then those are the ones that are like don't believe in school. Nada de escuela, nada de educación, nada de eso. It's like drop out of the whole system altogether. So it's like us, like estamos educadas, like we're not true punks, porque true punks are not working for, it's true though, not working, living in the street, not working for a corporation, and just doing it like that. Just working class, como dicen, pero not educated.
Yeah.
But then there's a type.
Our ethics would be like strength and being a woman, being able to rock out and being able to just say, fuck it. The majority of this, I guess, punk bands are men and stuff like that. And I think we try to prove, and not so much prove, but prove for ourselves that we can rock as just as hard as they do. I guess that's our so-called, ethics and what we do and rock and stuff like that.
But individually we vary. Like I know for us, like because her and I grew up in Salinas with the agriculture movement, we're totally into like that. We're into education because we have parents that we come from immigrant parents. Her Tigresa and I is we come from that background. Her growing up with her dad, going to the marchas, and I think we believe we have a very strong educational like we believe that people should get an education, be educated.
And also our parents too.
Yeah.
That's what they worked for here.
Yeah, that's why,
And we also like what we do. We love it. I mean,
but we're not on the extreme left.
no.
No, para nada.
Mm-mm. I shave my armpits.
And your pussy. Just kidding. No cussing.
So how would you define a Chicano punk?
Us?
I don't know. I guess you could say like it just depends what scene they're on, because if you go to the Bay Area, y si vas a esos, at those shows where you have like those hardcore punk rocker kids, como remember our friend that we had. Well, I don't even want to say her name on there, but she
just whispered it.
Well, we had
they
a
don't
friend.
even believe in speaking Spanish.
Pa nada.
And they're like from Mexico City. And
Yeah.
stuff like that. They have
And más prietos que ni un pinche, ya ni quiero,
yeah. They don't want to speak English. I mean Spanish.
Yeah, they don't. And that's funny because her and I, we know somebody that's like that. And I mean, there's that version of a Chicana punk, like the hardcore, hardcore. But I guess, and then the other version is us.
I'm out of the equation. I kind of grew up in the kind of white household and stuff like that. I'm kind of far from the roots essentially and stuff like that, but I had like my grandma to rely on and stuff like that to bring me down.
So there's I mean, there's a bunch of other Chicanas out there that are playing music that are, punk rockers, but it just depends, I think there's a lot of degrees of, it varies from the hardcore to moderate to just.
I think it depends also. I mean, what you say in your lyrics.
Whitewashed.
Too. Yeah, whitewashed too. If you're like politically inclined or,
Would make a difference.
Yeah.
We're not politically charged at all. Like some of the bands, it's like that's so fucking old. It's been done. Why even go there? Para qué? And some bands in the Bay Area are like that. Where they're very, it's a political statement. And at the same time, it's like if somebody were to see us, it's like, ¿por qué ustedes no están tocando? Like in LA, you already know with Chicano Records and Film, all that. Todos esos que están bien proud y que brown pride y que esto pa allá. I mean, we're not in denial of that. And it's not like we're turning our cheek and we're not aware. yeah, it's just that, you know what, why should, just because we're Chicanas, why should we play that type of style of music? Why should we politically charge our lyrics? Why should we even fucking put salsa or Latin rhythms or fucking add some congas, you know, or something into our music, when what we're doing is we're doing our own thing, you know, we're not like fucking selling out or anything, we're just fucking doing our own thing. We don't have to put any political music or any Latin.
I think just by playing and being a woman, you're just making a statement.
Yeah, I think that's just a statement.
Just having it a female group, the Mexicanas.
And not playing the norm, like being either a political group or singing hip hop, doing rap, doing fucking salsa, cumbia, and any of that, just being ourselves and just playing music.
You guys are all, before the interview, you guys were telling me about playing shows. Could you tell me more about that? How you guys feel being usually the only female band, and above that being the only Chicana band? Like, could you tell me about that? What you were saying?
Well, we mostly play shows with guys. The band maybe have one female. She's usually white. But we like it.
And this gives us some, like, empowerment too, because when we're up there, we're on the same ranks as other guys and stuff like that. And only thing that kind of gets me down is sometimes I think at first when we start playing or when we go when nobody knows us, it's like, oh, here's this novelty type of all woman. Oh yeah, they're, you know, Mexican as well, and that kind of gets me pissed off. But essentially after we play and stuff, they're pretty amazed because it's unfortunate, I think, because of the novelty of being all Mexican and women, they lower their expectations of how we were supposed to play. And then after that, they're like, whoa, you know, you guys can really play. And, you know, and it's kind of sad that we don't come in as equals, but after we're done playing, they do treat us differently as equal partners.
We always, and another thing that I wanted to add to that is like all the shows that we've done and everything that all the men that we've been playing, cállate cabrón, respect us in a sense that, like musicians, because we've hung out at parties and there'll be females and there'll be, you know, the rest of the musicians, where they disrespect certain females, the ones that are not the musicians, they treat them like sluts, like they're a piece of ass. And with us, I mean, they don't even cross the line with us. It's like, first of all, because we're musicians.
But they do try. They do try at first, but then they hear us talk and they're like, whoa. You know?
We always fight them off, argue, and tell them off. But then it's kind of sad because, you know, seeing the way some of the other women get treated within, you know, the backstage community area, whatever it is when you play, fucking sucks. And we never linger in the back. We always go out. I know I don't. I hate it, you know, so I'm always in the audience mingling, you know, because it sucks. But, I mean...
And if we do, we have our friends there.
Yeah.
You know, we take all of our friends.
So you would see this as a challenge, being the way men treat you at shows?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. If I was like heckle you, or they're like thinking, you know, she's gonna, I don't know, take
think
your
it's
top
hard.
off and shit like that. Yeah, or, you know,
Yeah, like they tell us stupid shit.
And
Like
we talk back. Let me see your dick. You know?
Exactly. But another thing too is that when they look closer after when we're playing and all this other stuff. Okay. Can you hold it for me? Because you're so nice. Do you want to shove it?
Somewhere where the sun don't shine.
But I think when we're playing too, I can totally see them staring at all of us and actually either taking a further look, like what type of instruments and stuff like that, or like we're not going out and buying whatever shit that's out there too. At least we know what's good and we know what we want as musicians, sound, equipment, that all falls into the same type of, you know, thing. And I think we got approaches, each one of us got approached like, oh, you have a nice bass, or your drum set, oh my gosh, you know, guitar, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God, totally. If we want, I play guitar, you know. It's just it's kind of discouraging, but nonetheless, it's cool to come out, you know, thinking, yeah, we know our shit. So.
Okay, on to a lighter topic, after topic. Who or what inspires you? Musically.
I think, and musically, it's Larry Lalonde. I said this last week, didn't I? Larry Lalonde from Primus. He's really good. He got taught by Joe Satriani, and but I think he's pretty cool. I mean, they're from the Bay Area and stuff, and he's pretty kick-ass and stuff. I know a lot of people are surprised. How come I don't like? Who else is good? Like who? Joan Baez or what the hell? I know. Or fucking shit. Yeah, or Sheryl Crow or some shit like that. I'm like,
Next.
I think I'm inspired by the passion of not just, whatever artist, but I'm inspired by a lot of Mexican music, a lot of like rancheras, música norteña, which is what I grew up with Ramon Ayala, Cornelio Reina, all that. I like banda, I like
Chalino.
Yeah. Amalia Mendoza. I like some hardcore music. I like all of that Mexican music, and I think just the passion of how they play it, I get inspired when I see somebody really passionate. And regardless of whether it's punk or whatever, I granted, I get really inspired by other female musicians. También.
Mm-hmm. I think the same goes for me. A lot of Mexican music. That's what I grew up with. Yeah.
And it's dramatic. So
novelas. I love novelas. That's why we're so dramatic.
That's where we come up with our ideas from, our outfits, the songs, and everything.
Or Saints and stuff like that. Univision.
What's your favorite Velvet Fury novel?
Hey, there's so many.
Anyone with Jorge Salinas.
We love him.
Do you like all of them?
She likes the OC over there. She makes us watch that on Wednesday. We're amargados right there.
Yeah, you're all like that.
I'm all into it now.
You guys even like the teen ones? The teen novelas?
Clase 406.
Yeah, la 406.
Yeah. Come on. What was it? That other one. Agujetas. Yeah, he knows the song over there. No. Yeah. Yeah, so. Oh, quiere cantar.
Dude, tomorrow's your day. Stop hogging the camera.
Back to the Chicana fund. I'm interviewing Hector was the backup.
Yes, we know Hector.
Yes, and he was
Almost
saying
can kick your ass.
Or the leader or whatever of the Chicano or Chicano punk movement is the lead singer of Los Crudos.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with him, or who do you guys think is like a
You know what?
Or is there a female
I remember seeing Los Crudos way back, I think in '93 at the Gilman, and there was not one fucking Mexican. I think it was me and the group of people that I went with, the Chicanos that I went with, which was another 4, who were the only Chicanos, the Gilman. Todos eran puros pinches güeros. Y es más, right before they it was just puros güeros. Con esto de la chicanada, you have, in LA, he should know more because there's been more of a scene over there, que no también.
Oh yeah, it's like
Viernes 13, todas esas bandas de allá. That for females, I don't know. I can't really say because there isn't really any hardcore punk. Not that we're aware. Las Ultrasónicas from Mexico. They're savages. They're vicious. And esas son mujeres mexicanas, pero, yeah, rockeras también, metaleras, punquetas. But here, I don't know about him, he, even though that guy, he's always been into that scene, but as far as punk, no. Yo me acuerdo que yo fui en el 93, and that's because I'm way older than Hector. I think in 93.
Look at her beard. Her white beard.
And I think he was barely in 6th grade. That goes to show how old we are. But no, I remember that it was a trip because, even though que también cantan en español y tienen, that hardcore music, nomás había como 4 Chicanos in the audience. The rest were hardcore punkers. Y eso que esa noche alguien in the audience told him, because he's always been really political, ¿verdad? He's always made political statements, hardcore statements, and at the time he was saying something, and I remember a punk in the audience threw I think it was a bottle and said, "Shut the fuck up and play music. We don't want to hear your fucking politics." And that was at the Gilman in Berkeley, where everyone's politically correct. And I thought that was like fucking whoa. Volteé, yo miré, and I was like, whoa. It was just, straight up like. The only reason I think everyone was there was just because they played punk rock. They played, good punk rock music. Y nomás estaban en el slam. They could give a fuck less of what he was saying, which is sad.
Like you mentioned earlier, there's a lot more of a Chicano scene down south. Why do
Oh,
you
yeah.
think there is more? Why do you think there's less of a scene up here than down south?
Because the border's over there, girl.
Yeah. Do you think that's the only reason, or?
Porque acá, you know what? There's a little.
Have like a lot about cultural movement and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it depends, like, on the city you live. Like, we come from Salinas, where it's mostly Mexican. When here in Sacramento, there's
Yeah.
not a scene here for it.
For it, no. There's this big music scene, though. Don't get us wrong, and that's where we're metidas. But for that kind of like Chicano movement, como en LA, allá están más united. There's big. There's not only one promoter. Like there's only one here in Sacramento, and there's nobody to compete against him. So he either gets the gigs, or he's the one that brings all the shows here. So it's like everyone basically just licks his ass or his balls or whatever, and. Whereas down south, you have 5 or 6 big promoters that promote all the shows, and they always group up bands, so they always have big
There's
draws.
different places here in Sacramento.
They're están más cities, yeah.
or something.
Yeah, and up here, and also too within our scene, because if you go on the internet, there's these 2 sites, ¿verdad? And these 2 sites supposedly list the Bay Area rock en español, scene. Bands we're listed under, with an Anglo name. And then I think we're the only ones with the Anglo name, but nos vale madre, but they still listed us in there. And it's funny because all those bands that we've, that are on that list, there's 2 that we've already played. No, 3. I think 3 or 4. We've played with each one once, Pretty much, huh? I think most once, but after that, no hemos tocado like que digan like united. All those bands, like somebody, come up with the idea and like get all those bands together that are on that page and like have good shows, or those bands play in groups. Pa nada.
It's all men.
And it's all men. We're the only female band up there. And que digas que esas bandas nos invitan a nosotros, where they're always tocando también in this area up here. Para nada. Son apenas we just do the Anglo scene. That's why, because nadie nos invita de esa.
And it's the Anglo scene that invites us.
All the time, all those bands siempre nos están invitando, so it's not like, because a lot of people are like, ya ni tocan in some of these areas.
But
or
we don't deny, que somos mexicanas, and we don't stop playing our, Spanish songs. Para nada.
Do you guys feel more accepted in the Anglo scene rather than the Latin scene or whatever?
Here?
Anyway.
Here, yes. And in LA, it felt really good to play to Latino Mexicanos, it felt really good. It was
it was the first time that it was like, it was a trip for us, because we're just used to playing, in an Anglo
and
audience.
our friends are the ones that are, the Mexicanos.
Yeah, so ya los conocemos, so it's like, and so over there it was just weird to see all these, Latinos, because in LA you got all, not just Mexicans, you have all that mix over there. It felt really good.
It did. I liked it.
And we were so sad we wanted to move to LA. Slash Harvest. Yeah, we did, huh? It was like, it was cool. It was so cool that we want to go back, but who knows? Queremos ir a Tijuana, Ensenada, like all that little area, because those people talk shit over there. They just like,
What are your hopes for your scene as far as Chicano punk go? Do you hope there'll be more women that you can play with?
Yes, definitely. We love when we play with women.
Yeah.
It sounded nasty.
I know, you sound like a big old marimacha, big old lesbian.
I think it's pretty cool when we play, because we kind of vibe off each other, like, oh yeah, we're playing together and stuff like that. I don't think we want to limit ourselves to Chicanas, but everybody who can play any race of women, that if we feel basically empowered by that and stuff, and kind of feed off of that. So
Give me that. My turn. I think that as far as like the future, how we see ourselves in there, like same thing like Tuca said, that not just, I don't think we want to pigeonhole ourselves in the Chicano scene. that's why we chose an Anglo name and we do the scene that we do, because up here there's no scene. Basically, there's no scene. So, but if it did change, we would play that scene too, but I don't think we would specifically stick to those type of gigs donde vamos a estar tocando nomás con esas bandas. I think we do double, both scenes. And I really hope that in the future, like those two websites that have all those bands were the one where we're included. I'm not even gonna say that no vale la pena ni decir esos sitios, because they should at least in the future, or think about organizing, getting all of us together. I mean, there's at least 10 bands on there. I mean, come on, up in nomás en el norte de California, compared to all these huge sites and the amount of bands that are coming out of LA. Yeah. It's like, why don't they just get us all together? And I'll tell you why, because there's a lot of envidia, a lot of jealous amongst our own people that never want you to further or get ahead, or want to invite you, or it's like as if almost as if they're threatened by us. We're just a couple of rowdy women here.
Do you guys have any parting words for the audience at home?
Deer in headlights, right? You go. What you get?
Parting words. Parting words. Use Botox. No, I'm just kidding. Don't even.
No, I was just gonna say thank you for inviting us. Thank you for filming us, and
I hope you get an A.
Me too. I hope you get an A, and I hope that we helped you out with whatever you were looking for.
And thank you for inviting us.
And I hope you go to a show.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, check out your website.
And Mexican chicks pick up instrument and start rocking out.
We rule.
Yeah.
Can we get a copy of this?
Oh, yes.
Oh, cool.
This has been Velvet Fury.